High school is supposed to be a place where memories are made, where laughter echoes through hallways and friendships last a lifetime. But for some, it's the place where nightmares are born. Bullying isn't just cruel words or childish pranks. It can twist into something darker, something that leaves scars far beyond the surface. The following are 4 true stories from high schools where bullying became more than torment. It became horror. Story 1, the locker room. I never liked gym class. Not because I hated sports, but because the locker room was a battlefield. That's where the worst of it happened. It started small. Someone would knock my books out of my hands or whisper insults when the teacher wasn't listening. I thought I could ignore it, the way adults always said. Don't let them see it bothers you. But in high school, pretending it doesn't hurt is like pouring blood into the water. You just make the sharks hungrier. There was this group of 4 guys, football players. They made it their daily ritual to make me miserable. One of them, a guy named Chase, was the ringleader. He was tall, built, and he had that cruel smile. The kind where you know he's already planned what he's going to do to you before you even walk into the room. At first, it was just taunts. Then it turned into shoving me against the lockers, stealing my clothes, making me late for class on purpose. The teachers? They looked the other way. Nobody wanted to go against the football team. But then came the night that still keeps me awake. It was after practice. I had stayed late to retake a test, which meant I had to use the locker room after everyone else had left. Or at least I thought they'd left. The room smelled like sweat and metal, and the hum of the old fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. I was halfway through changing when I heard the door slam shut. The lock clicked. "Where you going, loser?" It was Chase and his 3 shadows right behind him. They didn't even look like kids anymore. The way they were grinning, it felt like a pack of predators. I tried to play it cool, told them I just needed to get home. But Chase stepped forward, and in his hand was something that made my stomach drop. A roll of duct tape. They laughed as they pushed me back against the benches, shoving me down until my head cracked against the wood. The sound echoed through the empty room, but no one was around to hear it. One of them pinned my arms, another grabbed my legs. Chase started tearing strips of duct tape and wrapping them around my wrists. I could still feel the sting of that adhesive ripping at my skin. They taped me to the bench, wrists, ankles, even my mouth. The laughter was the worst part. They were giddy, drunk on the power of it. Chase leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Now we're going to make sure you remember this night forever." One of the guys opened a locker and pulled out something I'll never forget, a bucket filled with what looked like mop water, filthy, black, reeking. They poured it over me slowly, like it was some kind of twisted baptism. The cold sludge seeped into my hair, my clothes, even into my nose. I choked, but the tape over my mouth made it worse. I thought I was going to suffocate right there while they stood around watching. But then Chase did something that turned the whole thing from torment into horror. He pulled out his phone. They were recording it. My humiliation, my panic, every second of it captured for laughs. "Smile for the camera," he sneered. The last thing I remember before blacking out was the burning shame, knowing they'd have proof forever. When I woke up, the locker room was dark. They were gone. My wrists were raw from struggling against the tape, but someone, maybe a janitor, maybe another student, must have cut me loose because the tape was lying in shredded pieces on the floor. The video, though, that spread through the school like wildfire. By Monday, everyone had seen it. The laughter didn't stop in the locker room anymore. It followed me down every hallway, in every classroom, even online. My face, twisted in panic, became a meme. I stopped going to classes. I stopped eating. The walls of my room became my only safe place. But even there, I couldn't shut out the echoes of their laughter. Here's the part that chills me to this day. Chase never faced punishment. The school brushed it under the rug, claiming they couldn't prove who filmed it. My parents moved me to another district, but it didn't matter. That night, is carved into me deeper than any scar. Sometimes I still wake up gasping, tape burning my wrists in phantom pain. And I swear, when I close my eyes, I can hear Chase's whisper again, low, mocking, right against my ear. You'll never forget. Story 2. It was supposed to be just another ordinary Friday after gym class at a suburban high school. For a freshman named Emily, the locker room was her least favorite place. The sharp echo of laughter, the slamming of metal doors, the squeak of wet sneakers on tile. All of it felt suffocating. But it wasn't the noise that got to her. It was the way she became the target of whispers the second she stepped inside. Emily was shy, quiet, the kind of kid who kept her head down and avoided attention. But in high school, staying invisible is almost impossible. A few older girls noticed her silence and made her their project. At first, it was harmless seeming, snide comments about her clothes, snickering when she changed for gym, sarcastic questions about whether she even knew how to run a lap. But cruelty grows, and in those cold locker rooms, it flourished. One afternoon, as Emily was tying her sneakers, the girls cornered her. They shoved her against the lockers, laughing. One of them took her phone from her bag and started scrolling. Another snapped a picture of her half-dressed, threatening to send it around. Emily begged them to stop, her voice trembling, but begging only made them laugh harder. They told her she'd better keep quiet about this, where the whole school would see her most humiliating moments. The threats didn't stay in the locker room. Over the next few weeks, Emily's social media exploded with fake accounts posting edited photos of her. People she'd never even spoken to whispered behind her back in the hallways. She started eating lunch in the bathroom just to avoid the cafeteria. She barely spoke at home, too ashamed to tell her parents what was happening. But the worst moment came on a stormy evening when Emily stayed late after volleyball practice. The locker room was empty, lights dimmed, the sound of rain pounding against the roof. She thought she was alone until she heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate. The same group of girls emerged, grinning as if they'd been waiting for her. They circled around her like predators. One shoved her into the showers, turning on the icy water as she fell. The laughter was deafening as they filmed her, drenched and shivering on the floor. Emily felt like she was drowning, not just in water, but in humiliation, fear, and hopelessness. That night, something inside her snapped. She didn't go home. She wandered the streets for hours, soaked, shaking, unable to breathe. Finally, a teacher driving past recognized her and pulled over. When he asked what had happened, she broke down and told everything. The fallout was ugly. Parents were called, investigations launched, the school board dragged into meetings. Some of the girls faced suspension, others denial, all insisting it was just a joke. But the scars they left on Emily didn't heal easily. She transferred schools, carrying her trauma with her. For years, locker rooms brought panic attacks. The sound of laughter made her sick, and every time she opened her phone, she braced for something awful. This story isn't just about bullying. It's about how cruelty can metastasize when it's unchecked. For Emily, the scariest part wasn't the physical assault. It was the way her tormentors made her believe she had no escape, that she was trapped, voiceless, and utterly alone. And that's the horror so many high school victims know. Not monsters hiding in shadows, but classmates who weaponize everyday spaces into cages of fear.